Hello, I'm Minister Janice Spinks Clemens, and I welcome you to week 4 of NBCF's Adult Bible Study series, Navigating Chaos. In conjunction with Pastor Braxton's sermon series, Navigating Chaos, we've been dealing with the topic in our weekly Bible study sessions to supplement pastors' messages. Prior weeks' topics include naming your chaos, chaos from a biblical perspective, and chaos, community, and conflict. As we've learned, chaos comes in various forms and can hit us at any given time in our life. One key aspect or emotion, if you will, of the chaos that can so easily beset us is grief. To set the stage for this topic, it's important to note that grief does not only involve the loss of a loved one. There are varying degrees and sources of grief that may arise amid chaos. Noting this, our topic for this week is, it is possible to grieve amid chaos. To set the stage for this topic of grieving, I turned to Webster's dictionary, where it says that grief is deep and poignant distress caused by or if by bereavement, a cause of suffering, trouble, or an annoyance, an unforeseen outcome, and feelings of sorrow. We most often associate grief with the death of a loved one. However, grief can flood our souls over any number of situations or circumstances that life can throw at us. As noted in the book, Life is Messy, it said, grief is like a bear. It retreats to its cave, sometimes for a long period, and then one day, you turn around and discover that the bear has crept up behind you. It scares you half to death. The fright re-traumatizes you. But then the bear wanders back into the cave to hibernate again. When will it return? Nobody knows. Grief doesn't make appointments. It has its own timetable. Grieving is a process, and we know there are 5 stages of grief: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. Further, grief can be short-lived, or it can be a protracted, daunting experience that can last a lifetime. Thus, no one should be told how or how long they should grieve. It can be said that grief is synonymous with chaos, and to an extent it is. However, I contend that grief results in emotions that well up inside of us that can take us to some very dark places resulting from the chaos we endure. For instance, grief causes us agony, distress, anger, depression, despair, the blues, pain, glumness, heartache, joylessness, etc., etc. So why are we saying that it's possible to grieve amid chaos? Drawing again from Life is Messy, it's said that grief is our friend. And Kelly goes on to say, it may not seem like it, but grief helps us heal. It's a mistake to pretend it isn't there. It's so easy to become embarrassed or ashamed of grief, which is also a mistake. Have no shame in your grief. Allow it to wash over you. Invite it to heal you. Just know that while there will be times when the enormity of your grief seems insurmountable, you are more than your grief. Be gentle with yourself. Be patient with yourself. And I would add to this, we must allow ourselves to grieve and not suppress the emotions welling up inside of us. We must recognize them, identify them, and deal with them. Unchecked, suppressed negative emotions can be detrimental to the grieving and healing process. Another key component grieving amid chaos is that grief is transferable. That is, sometimes our grieving can come through the chaotic experiences of others. For instance, my heart grieves for my family members who refuse to get vaccinated, for the devastation taking place with the people in Ukraine, for the homeless population, those sleeping under freeways, in the brush, or wherever they can find a spot, for the thousands of families that lost loved ones at the hands of COVID, etc., etc. And I'm sure we all can relate to this form of grieving. Nevertheless, whatever the source or circumstance, or how it lands in our spirit, it is what it is, grief. So just how do we grieve amid chaos? Is such a thing even possible? Absolutely it is. To highlight the point, we offer you the following. Take it straight to God. Talk to God about what you're feeling, whether your feelings are in adoration or anger toward God. Take it to Him. He already knows what we're feeling, and trust me, God is big enough to handle our anger and laments. The Psalms are replete with testimony after testimony where the psalmist unleashed fiery laments toward God, and in the next breath sang praises of adoration toward Him. Whatever emotions grief conjures up inside us, take it to God, trusting and believing that He will see us through. Secondly, don't stuff it. That is, don't suppress the emotions we're feeling. Don't shove them under the proverbial rug, so to speak. We must recognize them, own them, allow them to come out, but not in a negative or destructive way, because that can potentially lead to more chaos and grief. Also, while feeling and expressing emotions, don't wallow in them, especially negative ones. Wallowing in negative emotions opens the door for you-know-who to swoop in and use that wallowing to rob, steal, and deceive us. We must allow ourselves to feel and express our emotions, but leave no room for the devil to creep in and cause us to even think about leaving God out of what it is we're going through. Third, engage with people. Being a recluse, isolating from others amid chaos and grief is the best way for the enemy to get a foothold. Left alone to our own thoughts and emotions is a trap. Sitting idly, nursing pain, anger, resentment, disappointment, grief, and having a pity party is just not healthy. Even when we are grieving, it's important to fellowship and engage with others. That is not the time to retreat under the covers, shutting ourselves out from the world. Let family and friends help with practical needs and talk it out with someone who cares. If you are able, get up and attend worship service in person. And if you've grown accustomed to worshiping online, avail yourself to attending in-person service at least once a month if you are able. Come back to the place where worship and fellowship can be a source of healing for a soul that is grieving. Fourth, get some rest. We must give ourselves permission to slow down and experience Sabbath. If God could take time to rest after creating the entire universe, surely we can take some time out of our busyness to slow down and allow our minds, body, and spirit to rest in God. Busyness can also be a trap because it keeps us from facing the grief weighing on us and from dealing with the emotions of grief. It also keeps us from getting the rest we may so desperately need. We mustn't allow busyness to distract us and veer us off course, taking our eyes off God. A key part of getting rest calls for resting in God. Rest is important because it allows our minds, body, souls, and spirit to replenish so we can hit restart with a fresh perspective. Thank you for tuning in to this week's video excerpt, and we pray that you take time to read the scriptures referenced in the summary on the website along with this video. And please do remember that it is possible to grieve amid chaos. God bless you.